checked his weapon one last time before walking into the meeting room. The space station called Point was always busy with travelers from 100 different worlds. He had been working here for 3 years now, taking security jobs that paid well and didn't ask too many questions. Today's meeting was in a dark corner of the station, the kind of place where people did business they didn't want others to see. A figure sat in the shadows, wearing a heavy cloak that hid their face and body. Couldn't tell what species they were, but that was normal in his line of work. He sat down across from them and waited. "You are," the figure said through a voice translator. "Former soldier, now private security. Your record is clean, your skills are proven. I have a job for you." "I'm listening," said. "Guard a child for 72 hours, keep her safe, ask no questions. When the time is done, you will be paid." The figure pushed a data chip across the table. "This is 3 times your normal rate." Picked up the chip and checked it. The amount made his eyes widen. This was enough money to take 6 months off work, maybe even a year if he was careful, but jobs that paid this much usually came with serious problems. "What's the catch?" he asked. "No catch. Just keep the child alive for 3 days, that is all." Something felt wrong about this but needed the money. His ship needed repairs and he had debts to pay. He nodded slowly. "When do I start?" "Now." The figure stood and led him through the back corridors of the station. They walked for 20 minutes, going deeper into the older sections where most people didn't go. Finally, they stopped at a small apartment. Inside, sitting on a bed, was the strangest child had ever seen. She was small, maybe 5 or 6 years old if she were human, but she definitely wasn't human. Her skin glowed softly with a blue-green light that changed colors like water reflecting sunlight. She had large eyes that were completely black, no white parts at all. Her small hands had 4 fingers instead of 5, and her ears were pointed and moved slightly, like a cat's ears. When she saw, she shrank back against the wall, clearly afraid. "This is the child," the figure said. "Her name translates to Lyra in your language. She doesn't speak human languages, but she understands emotions. Keep her calm, keep her safe. I will return in 72 hours." Before could ask anything else, the figure left and locked the door from the outside. He heard footsteps walking away. Now he was alone with this scared alien child, and he had no idea what he'd gotten himself into. Looked at Lyra. She stared back at him with those big black eyes, and her skin color shifted to a dark purple. He guessed that meant fear. He held up his hands to show he meant no harm. "Hey," he said softly, "I'm not going to hurt you. I'm here to keep you safe." She didn't understand his words, but his tone seemed to help. Her color shifted back to blue-green. Sat down on the floor, making himself smaller and less threatening. He remembered his grandmother telling him that scared children needed patience and kindness, no matter where they came from. He pulled out his data pad and showed her pictures of Earth. Mountains, oceans, forests. Lyra leaned forward slightly, curious. Her skin turned a brighter yellow color, which guessed meant interest or happiness. They spent an hour like this, with him showing her things and her slowly relaxing. By evening, Lyra had moved closer. She was still cautious, but not terrified anymore. Shared his food with her, simple ration bars that tasted like cardboard. She sniffed them carefully before taking a small bite. She made a face and laughed. "Yeah, I know, they're terrible, but it's all I have right now." When night came, set up his sleeping bag on the floor near the door. Lyra climbed into the bed and watched him. He could tell she was scared of the dark. Her glow got brighter like a... He started humming an old Korean lullaby his grandmother used to sing to him. It was a simple tune about stars and sleep and safety. Lyra's glow softened. Her eyes started to close. Within minutes, she was asleep. Stayed awake watching the door. Something about this job bothered him. Why would someone pay so much just to guard one child? Who was she? Why did she need protection? His questions were answered 3 hours later when the door exploded inward. 3 figures in black combat armor rushed in, weapons ready, reacted on instinct, rolling behind cover and drawing his gun. Lyra woke up screaming, her skin flashing bright white with terror. "Get the target," one attacker shouted. "Kill the human." Fired twice, hitting the first attacker in the chest. The armor took most of it, but the impact knocked them down. The second attacker aimed at Lyra. Didn't think. He jumped in front of the child, taking a shot to his shoulder that burned like fire. He fired back, hitting the attacker in the face where the armor didn't protect. The third attacker tried to grab Lyra, kicked them hard, then shot them 3 times until they stopped moving. His shoulder screamed with pain, but he ignored it. He grabbed Lyra, who wrapped her arms and legs around him tight, shaking with fear. "It's okay," he said, even though he knew she couldn't understand. "I've got you. I won't let them hurt you." He checked the hallway. More attackers would come soon. He needed to get out now. There was a maintenance tunnel access panel he'd noticed earlier. He had opened with his knife, squeezed through with Lyra still clinging to him, and started running through the dark tunnels under the station. Behind them, he heard more attackers enter the apartment, shouting, anger, they'd find the tunnel soon. Ran faster, his injured shoulder bleeding, carrying a terrified alien child through the darkness. He started humming that lullaby again, trying to keep her calm, trying to keep himself calm. Whatever he'd gotten into, it was much bigger and more dangerous than he'd thought. But he'd made a promise to keep this child safe. He'd taken the job, and never broke his word, not even when people were trying to kill him. Lyra's grip tightened on him and her glow turned a soft green color. Despite her fear, she seemed to trust him. That trust made him determined to survive, no matter what came next. The hunt had begun. The maintenance tunnels under Point were dark and smelled like oil and metal. Ran through them with Lyra holding onto his back. His shoulder hurt badly where he'd been shot and blood was soaking through his shirt. But he couldn't stop. Not yet. Behind them he could hear voices echoing through the tunnels. The attackers were following. They had tracking equipment and more weapons, had only his handgun and a knife. He needed help, and he knew only one person on the station he could trust. After 30 minutes of running and hiding, found a tunnel exit near the industrial sector. He climbed out carefully, checking to make sure no one was watching. Lyra was quiet now, but her skin kept flashing different colors. Purple for fear, red for pain, sometimes yellow when she looked at him. He didn't know what yellow meant, but he hoped it was something good. He made his way through the back streets to a small repair shop. The sign outside said Tech Repairs in 3 different languages. Knocked on the back door in a special pattern. 3 quick knocks, pause, 2 slow knocks. The door opened a crack. A woman's face appeared, suspicious at first, then surprised. "What happened to you?" "I need help, please." Looked at his bloody shoulder, then at the small alien child on his back. She made a decision quickly and pulled them inside. The shop was full of machines and tools and half-fixed equipment. She locked the door behind them and activated security shields. "Sit down before you fall down," she ordered. "Who shot you, and who is this?" Carefully set Lyra down on a chair. The child wouldn't let go of his hand, holding on tight with her 4-fingered grip. "Her name is Lyra. I took a job to protect her. Someone attacked us. I don't know who or why." Got her medical kit and started cleaning his wound. Gritted his teeth against the pain but didn't make a sound. He didn't want to scare Lyra more than she already was. The child watched everything with those huge black eyes. "This is a plasma burn," said. "Military-grade weapon. Whoever shot you had expensive equipment. This isn't some random gang violence. Tell me the truth. What did you get yourself into?" He told her everything. The mysterious employer, the huge payment, the attack, the escape. Listened while she worked on his shoulder. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "That child," she finally said, "do you know what species she is?" "No, do you?" "I think she's, look at her skin, the way it glows and changes color. The 4 fingers, the black eyes, are one of the most powerful species in this part of space. They almost never leave their home systems. If she's here, something very important is happening. Lyra made a small sound and tugged on's hand. She pointed to her mouth. He understood. She was hungry. Found some fruit from her personal supplies. Lyra ate it carefully, still watching both humans like she was afraid they might disappear. She trusts you, observed. That's unusual. Don't trust easily, especially not aliens. How did you do that? I just tried to keep her calm, sang to her, treated her like any scared kid. Smiled slightly. That's very human of you. Most species wouldn't bother. She finished bandaging his shoulder and gave him some medicine for the pain. Okay, here's what we know. Someone wants this child badly enough to kill for her. You're protecting her. The people who hired you haven't shown up. What's your plan? Survive until the 72 hours are up. Hope my employer comes back like they promised. And if they don't? Looked at Lyra, who was now trying to mimic the way he sat, copying his posture. Then I figure something else out. I'm not going to let anyone hurt her. Sighed, you always were too honorable for your own good. Okay, I'll help, but we need information. Let me check the station networks. She went to her computer and started searching. Her fingers moved fast across the controls. After a few minutes, her face went pale. You need to see this. On the screen were wanted notices. They showed images of Lyra. The reward for her capture was enormous. Multiple organizations were offering bounties. The Syndicate wanted her alive. The Axis Collective wanted her for research. Other groups he didn't recognize wanted her dead. She's not just some random child, said quietly. She's worth millions. Every bounty hunter and criminal on this station is probably looking for her right now. As if responding to her words, alarms started going off. Checked her security screens. We have a problem. There are armed people outside, 4 of them. They're scanning for life signs. Stood up, ignoring the pain in his shoulder. He picked up his gun and checked how much ammunition he had left. Not much. Is there another way out? The roof, but there's something else. Pulled up another screen. I intercepted a message on the encrypted channels. It's addressed to you. The message was simple. Extraction impossible. Continue protection. Payment increased. Queen will retrieve the princess personally. Read it twice. Princess, she's a princess. Not just any princess, said, her voice shaking slightly. If her mother is queen, then this child is Princess Lyra of the Sovereignty. She's royalty of one of the most powerful empires in known space, and you've been protecting her. Lyra tugged on his hand again. She pointed to the door where the armed people were trying to get in. Her skin turned dark purple, almost black. She was terrified, but she looked up with complete trust in her eyes. We need to go, said. Now take these. She gave him fake identification chips, a better weapon, and a map of the station's tunnel systems. Follow the green path on this map. It'll take you to the secure zones. I'll send you access codes as you go. What about you? I'll be fine. These idiots don't want me. Go. Picked up Lyra, who immediately wrapped around him like before. They climbed up through a maintenance shaft to the roof, while created a distraction by setting off false alarms throughout the shop. On the roof, the artificial wind from the station's air systems was strong. Could see the stars through the transparent dome above. Lyra pointed at them and made a soft sound. He wondered if she was looking for her home. Don't worry, he told her, knowing she couldn't understand the words but hoping she'd understand the feeling. I'll keep you safe until your mother comes. I promise. They ran across the rooftops while below them, the station security forces and bounty hunters searched everywhere. Followed's map, moving from building to building, always staying ahead of their pursuers. At one point, they were trapped in a cargo bay with no way out. 6 attackers surrounded them, put Lyra behind him and raised his gun. He knew he couldn't win this fight, but he'd try anyway. Then something amazing happened. Lyra screamed. a high-pitched sound that hurt his ears. The air around them seemed to shimmer and twist. All 6 attackers suddenly grabbed their heads and fell to their knees, crying out in pain. Felt a pressure in his mind, but it didn't hurt him. It was like Lyra was protecting him from her own power. When the effect ended, the attackers were unconscious. Lyra collapsed against, exhausted. Her glow was very dim now. Whatever she'd done had taken all her energy. He picked her up gently and kept moving. 2 more days until the queen arrived. 2 more days to keep this brave little princess alive. He could do this. He had to. 72 hours after the nightmare began, sat in a secured docking bay with Lyra sleeping in his arms. They'd barely survived the last 3 days. He had new wounds on top of old ones. His body ached everywhere. But Lyra was alive and safe, and that was all that mattered. The docking bay doors opened, and a ship entered unlike anything had ever seen. It was made of some kind of crystal that glowed from within, shaped like a teardrop with wings. It made no sound as it landed. The beauty of it took his breath away. A ramp extended from the ship. Guards came out first, 6 of them all. They were tall and moved with perfect coordination. Their armor glowed the same way Lyra's skin did, and they carried weapons that hummed with energy, but only had eyes for the figure who came after them. Queen was nearly 8 feet tall. Her skin glowed brighter than Lyra's, shifting through colors that seemed to have meaning he couldn't understand. She wore robes that floated around her like they were alive. Her eyes were the same black as Lyra's, but they were ancient and knowing. Looking at her, felt small and insignificant. The queen walked toward them, and her guards followed. Stood up carefully, still holding the sleeping Lyra. He'd faced down criminals and killers over the past 3 days without fear, but this alien queen made him nervous in a way he couldn't explain. "I am," the queen said. Her voice came from a translator device but somehow still sounded powerful and regal. "You are the human called. You have protected my daughter." "I did what I was hired to do, Your Majesty," said. He didn't know if that was the right way to address a queen, but it seemed safe. Lyra stirred in his arms and opened her eyes. When she saw her mother, she made a happy sound and her whole body lit up bright yellow. She reached for the queen with both arms, took her daughter gently, holding her close. For a moment the queen's expression softened and saw something very human in her face. Love, relief, fear of what could have happened. But then Lyra did something unexpected. She squirmed in her mother's arms and reached back for her. She made urgent sounds, her colors flashing. She grabbed his hand with her small fingers and wouldn't let go. She pulled him closer, holding both her mother and at the same time. Queen looked at this with surprise. She said something in her own language, and Lyra responded with a flood of words and gestures. The child kept pointing too, her colors changing rapidly as she talked. One of the queen's advisors, an older with silver-colored skin, stepped forward. He spoke through a translator. "The princess is telling her mother about you, how you protected her, how you sang to her when she was afraid, how you took wounds meant for her, how you never left her side even when death was certain." "I was just doing my job," said, feeling uncomfortable with all the attention. The queen studied him with those black eyes. "My daughter asks me a question," she said. "She wants to know why you risked your life so completely for a child who is not your species, not your family, not your concern. Tell me, human, why?" Thought about lying or giving some impressive answer, but he was too tired for games. "Because she's a kid. She was scared and in danger. That's enough reason." Silence fell over the docking bay. The guards looked at each other. The advisor's skin shifted through several colors quickly. The queen stared at for a long moment. Then she said something that changed his life. "You will come with us to Prime. This is not a request." "What? No, I'm not going to your planet. I did the job. The job is done. I want my payment and to return to my life." "That is not possible," the queen said calmly. "My daughter has formed a bond with you. This is unprecedented. This must be understood. You will come with us." I don't want to go. Lyra made a sad sound. Her glow turned dark blue. She looked up at with those big eyes and he could see tears forming. She didn't understand the words, but she understood he was trying to leave. She held his hand. The Queen's expression didn't change. You misunderstand. I am not asking for your permission. I am informing you of what will happen. You have become important to my daughter. Therefore, you are important to me. Therefore, you will come with us to be studied and understood. You can't just kidnap me. I am a queen. I can do many things. Her voice was not cruel, just stating a fact. But I prefer cooperation. Come willingly and you will be treated with honor. Refuse and I will find other methods. The choice is yours, but the outcome is the same. Wanted to argue more, but he looked at Lyra. The little princess was still holding his hand, looking between him and her mother with worry on her glowing face. He thought about the past 3 days, the fear in her eyes when the attackers came, the way she'd clung to him, the trust she'd shown him. He'd promised to keep her safe. Was leaving her now really keeping that promise? How long? He asked tiredly. As long as necessary, the Queen replied. Days, weeks, perhaps longer, until we understand what has happened between you and my daughter. He wanted to refuse. He wanted to demand his freedom. But he was exhausted, injured, and standing in front of an alien queen who commanded armies. What choice did he really have? Fine, he said, I'll come, but I want to send a message to my friend first. Let her know I'm okay. The Queen nodded. This is acceptable. Advisor will arrange it. Sent a quick message to, telling her he was going with thee and not to worry. He didn't mention that he wasn't exactly going by choice. Then he followed the Queen and her guards onto the crystal ship, carrying his small bag of belongings and nothing else. Inside, the ship was even more beautiful than outside. The walls glowed softly. There were no hard edges anywhere. Everything curved and flowed like water frozen in time. Lyra took his hand and pulled him to a window. She pointed outside at the stars and said something in her language. She seemed excited, like she was saying, going home. A female approached them. She was shorter than the Queen, but still tall by human standards. I am instructor, she said through her translator. I will show you to your quarters. The Queen requests you rest. Tomorrow we will begin understanding what has happened. Was taken to a room that was more luxurious than anywhere he'd ever stayed. There was a bed that seemed to form itself around his body. The walls changed color slowly, cycling through calming blues and greens. There was a bathroom with water that felt perfect without him adjusting the temperature. There was even food waiting for him, real food, not ration bars. He ate, showered, and fell into bed. Before sleep took him, he wondered what he'd gotten himself into. He was going to an alien planet where humans had never been allowed. He was a prisoner, even if they called him a guest. His life as he knew it was over. But when he closed his eyes, he saw Lyra's smile. The way she'd held his hand, the trust in her eyes. Maybe some things were more important than freedom. Maybe some promises were worth keeping, even when they took you to the stars. Prime was the most beautiful planet had ever seen. From orbit, it looked like a jewel floating in space. Blue oceans, green continents, and cities that sparkled like diamonds. As the ship descended, he could see towers made of crystal reaching toward the sky, gardens that seemed to stretch for miles. Everything was clean and bright and perfect. The royal palace sat in the center of the capital city. It was carved from a single massive crystal that changed colors with the time of day. Right now, in the morning light, it glowed soft pink and gold. Followed the Queen and her guards through hallways that seemed to sing when people walked past them. Everything here felt alive in a way he couldn't explain. He was given rooms in the palace that were bigger than any apartment he'd ever lived in. There was a bedroom, a bathroom, a sitting room, and a balcony that looked out over the city. Everything was beautiful, but it felt like a very nice prison. Guards stood outside his door. When he tried to leave, they politely but firmly told him to wait. On his second day, a human woman came to visit him. She was in her 40s with kind eyes and practical clothes. "Hello, I've been studying culture for 5 years now." "You're human," was shocked. "I thought humans weren't allowed here." "3 of us have been permitted to stay. I study their culture. The other 2 are a doctor and an engineer. We're here to learn and help bridge understanding between our species." She sat down and looked at him seriously. "I heard what happened. Do you understand how unusual your situation is?" "The Queen said Lyra formed some kind of bond with me, but I don't really understand what that means." Took a deep breath. "Have powerful mental abilities. They can sense emotions and thoughts. Very rarely, a will form something called a soul guard bond with another. It's a deep connection that means they've chosen that person as their protector. It's sacred to them. It cannot be broken without causing severe mental damage to both parties." "But I'm not." "Exactly. That's what makes this unprecedented. Princess Lyra has formed a soul guard bond with you, a human. This has never happened in their entire recorded history. The Queen is fascinated but also deeply concerned. The political implications are enormous." Felt a headache forming. "I was just doing my job. I protected a scared kid." "That's what makes this so powerful to them," explained. "You didn't protect her because of duty or orders. You protected her because you genuinely cared. You sang to her. You comforted her. You put her safety above your own life multiple times. That's the highest form of honor, but it's only supposed to happen between." Over the next few days was tested and examined by scientists. They scanned his brain and body. They asked him thousands of questions about his time with Lyra. They watched recordings from the safe house and the station. They studied every detail of what happened. All the while, Lyra visited him every day. She brought him drawings she'd made. She tried to teach him words in her language. She just wanted to be near him. One day was taken to a training ground where warriors practiced. They were testing his combat abilities. He fought against training machines and even a few of the warriors themselves. He did well, using techniques he'd learned in the military. But he was just a human. He didn't have the mental powers they had. He didn't have their strength or speed. He was ordinary. After the tests, one of the warriors approached him. His name was General and his skin was a deep red color. "You fight well for a human," he said through his translator, "but you are weak compared to us. How did you protect the princess against so many enemies?" Thought about it. "I didn't think about being weak or strong. I just thought about keeping her safe. When someone threatens a child, you don't calculate odds. You just act." The general's skin shifted to a thoughtful orange color. "Interesting. Courage without power. Honor without superiority. Perhaps there is something to learn from humans after all." After 2 weeks on Prime, was summoned to a private meeting with Queen. He was brought to a garden on the highest level of the palace. The Queen stood among flowers that glowed in the twilight. Lyra played nearby, making the flowers change colors with her touch. "Sit with me," the Queen said, gesturing to a bench. He sat nervous. The Queen was quiet for a moment, watching her daughter play, then she spoke. "I must tell you the truth about my daughter. She has been sickly since birth. Her mental powers are unstable. They cause her pain and weakness. Our best healers have tried everything, but nothing has helped. We feared she might not survive to adulthood." Watched Lyra, who looked perfectly healthy now. "She seems fine." "Yes, since forming the bond with you, her condition has stabilized completely. Her powers are calm, her health is strong. The healers say she has improved more in these 2 weeks than in her entire life before." The Queen turned to look at him. "You are the reason. Somehow, your presence anchors her abilities. You make her stable." "I don't understand how that's possible. I don't have any mental powers." "Neither do we, but the evidence is clear. Without you, my daughter will return to her unstable condition. With you, she thrives." The Queen's voice became harder. "That is why I cannot let you leave. Not because I wish to imprison you, but because my daughter needs you. You have become essential to her health and development." Anger flared in. "So I'm just supposed to give up my life? My freedom, because of something I didn't ask for and don't understand. I understand your anger, the queen said calmly. But consider what I offer you. Stay willingly and you will be given the title of royal guardian. It is a position of honor held by only 5 individuals in our entire history. You will have wealth beyond imagining, status that will make you respected across multiple worlds, freedom to move within our territories. You will want for nothing, except the freedom to leave. Yes, that is the one thing I cannot give you, not while my daughter needs you. The queen stood and looked down at him. Or you can refuse and I will find another way to keep you here. I would prefer cooperation, but I will do what I must for my child. Choose wisely, human. Give me your answer tomorrow. That night couldn't sleep. He stood on his balcony looking at the alien stars and thinking about Earth, about his old life, about freedom. He'd been a soldier, then a mercenary, always moving, never settling. He'd chosen that life because he didn't want to be tied down. Now he was being asked to give up everything for a child he'd known for less than a month. But was it really being forced? Or was it a choice? He thought about Lyra's smile, her trust, her joy when she saw him each day. He thought about that moment in the cargo bay when she'd protected him with her mental powers, even though it exhausted her. She cared about him as much as he cared about her. Maybe this wasn't about losing freedom. Maybe it was about finding something more important. Spent the next day walking through the palace gardens, trying to make his decision. Found him there in the afternoon, sitting by a fountain that made music when the water fell. You look troubled, she said, sitting beside him. The queen wants me to become royal guardian, to stay here permanently, to give up my old life. Nodded slowly. I heard. Royal Guardian is not a small thing. Only 5 beings in history have held that title. They're remembered as legends, heroes who sacrificed everything for the royal family. I don't want to be a hero. I just want my life back. Do you? Asked gently. You were a mercenary taking dangerous jobs for money, living day to day, no real home, no real connections. Is that really what you want to go back to? Didn't answer because he didn't know. Maybe she was right. Maybe his old life wasn't as great as he remembered. Let me tell you something, continued. I came here 5 years ago to study for 6 months. I could have left after that, but I stayed. Not because I was forced, but because I found something meaningful here. Purpose, understanding, a chance to bridge 2 different species. Sometimes the best things in life are the ones we didn't plan for. After she left, continued walking. He found Lyra in another garden playing with other young. When she saw him, her whole face lit up. She ran to him and grabbed his hand, pulling him to show him something. It was a plant she'd grown using her mental powers. It had flowers shaped like stars that glowed different colors. She pointed to the plant, then to herself, then too. She was trying to tell him something. A teacher nearby translated. She says she grew this with her mind. She couldn't do it before, but now she can because you make her strong. She wants to show you all the things she can do now. Lyra demonstrated other abilities. She made objects float in the air. She made water form shapes. She made light dance in her hands. Every time she did something, she looked at to see if he was watching, to see if he was proud. And he was. He was amazed by this brave, talented little being who'd chosen him as her protector. After her demonstrations, Lyra took his hand and led him to a quiet spot under a tree. She said something in her language, her voice soft and serious. The teacher who'd followed them translated again. She wants to show you something important. She asks permission to share a memory with you. What does that mean? She wants to use her mental powers to let you see something from her point of view. It doesn't hurt, but it can be intense. You must allow it willingly. Looked at Lyra. Okay, show me. Lyra placed her small hand on his forehead. The world around him seemed to fade, and suddenly he was seeing through her eyes. He was back in the cargo bay on point. The memory was so real he could feel her terror. The attackers were coming. Death was certain. She was going to die. Then appeared in the memory, But this was how Lyra saw him, not as a hired mercenary, not as a stranger just doing a job. She saw him as something incredible, a protector who stepped between her and death without hesitation. Someone who got hurt for her, someone who sang to her when she was scared, someone who held her hand when she needed comfort. In her eyes, he was a hero, her hero. The memory faded and was back in the garden. Lyra was looking up at him with those big black eyes. She spoke again and the teacher translated. She asks you to please stay. She knows it's hard. She knows you miss your home, but she needs you. She loves you. Felt something break inside him. All his walls, all his defenses. He knelt down so he was eye level with Lyra. "You really need me?" he asked, even though he knew she couldn't understand the words. She nodded and wrapped her arms around his neck, hugging him tight. Her glow turned bright yellow, the color of happiness and love. In that moment, realized something. He'd been thinking about this all wrong. This wasn't about losing his freedom or his old life. It was about a scared child who'd found safety with him. It was about responsibility he never asked for but couldn't ignore. It was about choosing to care for someone who needed him. He thought about his own childhood. His parents had died when he was young. He'd grown up in the system, passed from place to place, never really belonging anywhere. He'd always wished someone had been there for him, someone who'd chosen to stay, someone who'd protected him. Now he had the chance to be that person for someone else. Stood and asked to speak with Queen. He was brought to the throne room where the Queen sat with her advisors. He bowed respectfully. "I've made my decision, Your Majesty. I will accept the position of Royal Guardian. I will stay and protect Princess Lyra." The Queen's expression didn't change, but her skin color shifted to something that might have been relief. "You have chosen wisely." "But I have conditions," continued, and several advisors made surprised sounds. No one gave conditions to the Queen. "I will serve faithfully. I will protect Lyra with my life. I will honor ways and learn your culture, but I will also remain human. I will not abandon human culture or ways of thinking. I will maintain contact with human worlds. And as Lyra grows, I will teach her about humanity, not as mysterious aliens, but as people. If she's going to have a human in her life, she should understand what that means." The throne room was silent. The Queen stared at him for a long moment. Then she stood. "Your conditions are acceptable. In fact, they are wise. You will teach my daughter that there is strength in being different, that understanding between species is possible, that sometimes the best guardians are the ones who challenge us to grow." The next day, there was a ceremony. From across the planet came to witness it, was dressed in armor designed specially for him. It was made of materials that glowed like skin, but was designed for a human body. The Queen placed an ancient medallion around his neck. It was made of crystal that changed colors with his heartbeat. "Of Earth," the Queen announced in a voice that echoed through the hall. "You have shown courage, honor, and selfless protection. You have formed a bond with my daughter that defies all we thought possible. From this day forward, you are royal guardian. Your duty is to protect Princess Lyra. Your place is at her side. Your voice will be heard in matters concerning her. This is your oath and your honor." "I accept," said clearly. "I will protect her. I will guide her. I will be the guardian she needs for as long as she needs me." Lyra stood beside him through it all, her hand in his, her glow bright and happy. After the ceremony, there was celebration. Music and food and demonstrations of culture. Was overwhelmed by it all, but Lyra stayed close, making sure he was okay, making sure he knew he belonged. That night sent a message to back on point. "I'm staying. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm where I need to be. I'm a royal guardian now. I'm protecting a princess. I found something I didn't know I was looking for. A purpose. A family. Take care of yourself out there. Maybe someday you can visit. I think you'd like it here." He stood on his balcony, looking at the alien stars. Tomorrow, he would start teaching Lyra about Earth. He would show her pictures of mountains and oceans. He would teach her Korean songs. He would help her understand that humanity, despite having no mental powers or advanced technology, had value. That sometimes the strongest thing you could do was choose to care for someone who needed you. In the garden below, he could see Lyra practicing her abilities with her teachers. She looked up and saw him watching. She waved, and her whole body glowed bright yellow. He waved back and smiled. Had been a soldier, then a mercenary. Now he was something more, a bridge between two species, a guardian who chose duty and compassion over comfort, a human showing the galaxy what humans could be at their best. Queen appeared beside him on the balcony. "You seem at peace," she observed. "I think I am," he said, surprising himself with the truth of it. "I spent my whole life running from responsibilities, from connections, from caring too much. I thought that was freedom, but maybe real freedom is choosing what matters, choosing who matters." The Queen nodded. "Perhaps humanity is not so different from us after all. You understand that true strength lies not in power, but in choosing to protect those who need protection. That is why my daughter chose you. That is why you are worthy of the title you now hold." They stood in comfortable silence, watching Lyra play below, thought about the journey that brought him here. A simple security job that changed his life completely. And somehow, despite everything, he wouldn't change a thing. He'd found something rare in the universe. He'd found where he belonged. And that was worth more than all the freedom in the stars.